Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is habit. And we talk about good habits and bad habits, but with any habit, are we actually truly present? Are we being present in the moment? So we're going to get to explore that that notion today, and we'll see where we go with things. And it should be interesting. So before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light, lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying all your cells, all your molecules, all your electrons, and creating this brilliant beam of light from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's just gently press our palms together and very softly rub your fingers against your palms to feel the deliciousness of that sensation and the tickling and the tingling of it. And allow that sensation to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, Rosalind. Rosalind says, good morning, Core Connectors. I love it. So welcome. It's great to be here with you guys. As always, I so appreciate it. And if you're watching and you would like to comment, please head over to the Enlightened World Network Facebook page, and you can place your comments in there. And then I'll be able to see them. Otherwise, I want you to know that if I'm not responding, it's not because I'm ignoring you. It's because I don't see you. And Rob Whitehouse from Wales, UK. Welcome. So good to have you here with us this morning. So Rob is joining from the Enlightened World Network YouTube channel. That's another way that you can also put in comments. So welcome. It's great to be here with you, Rob, too. So today we're talking about habit. And I periodically, when I'm doing these discovery kinds of conversations, I look up the definition, the dictionary definition of the word, and I'm going to read that to you. Habit, an acquired behavior pattern regularly followed until it has become almost involuntary. And I think that this is, I'm just looking to see if there are any others that I would like to address here. Nope. So when we look at that definition, to almost become involuntary. And one of the things we talk about all the time is presence. And so if we are engaged in a habit, whether it's a air quotes, good or bad habit, are we present? Can we be exercising a habit and be present? So habits are patterns of behavior, patterns of thinking, patterns of emotion. And we often think about habits in terms of things we do rather than ways that we be. But we do have habitual ways of being that are perhaps almost involuntary, or perhaps actually involuntary, like we are totally unconscious of that habit, that emotional pattern, or recognizing that it is a habit. So we don't usually think of emotions as habitual. I'm doing a cleanse, and this is celery juice. So I'm loving the celery juice, but I hope you'll indulge me while I enjoy some of it. It's really, really good. And it's supposed to be an awesome thing for cleansing. Anyway, so habit, emotional habit. So what happens with any habit or any skill is that we develop certain neural pathways and muscle memory oftentimes to be able to do a skill, right? And so if we think about emotion as habitual, what's happening is that there are neural pathways that support that habit, that pattern. There are physiological chemical releases that support that habit or pattern. And Rosalind says, if the habit's not causing negative effects, and then she says, I've been regularly falling asleep in the recliner, and a happy laughing face. So that's funny. I remember us talking about falling asleep in the recliner as a way to be able to relax and ease yourself. And so I guess the question is, when is a behavior a choice versus a habit, which by definition is something that's almost involuntary. And when we think about emotions like depression or anxiety, I think that there is a benefit to considering that behavior, that emotion, as a habit. Good morning, Lisa. Welcome. We're talking about habits today and looking at emotional habits, emotional patterns. And if, normally when we talk about how we are feeling, we say, I am sad, I am depressed, I am angry, rather than I'm experiencing sadness, I'm experiencing anger, I'm experiencing anxiety. And the identification with the experience as a who I am is it's not actually accurate. It is accurate to say I'm experiencing whatever I'm experiencing, this collection of physiological, emotional, chemical reactions that I'm interpreting and naming sadness, right? So those conditions, those physiological, neurological, chemical, spiritual, physical conditions are something that collectively can make a habit. So, for instance, if our go-to place is depression, then something gets disrupted in life, and where do we go? We go to a place of depression because it's a habit. Anyway, in thinking about emotions as a habit, I think it gives us access to shifting those emotions perhaps more effectively, where we can look at repatterning, creating a new neural pathway that then generates choice. So much of what we've been talking about this week, but so much of our way of operating in the world is generated by our other than conscious awareness. And so I think that that's also a way that we might define habit, not that it's necessarily completely involuntary, but that it might be unconscious or not part of our conscious awareness that we just do this stuff. You know, like maybe we have a habit of biting our nails, right? It's something that we're not present to. When we're doing that behavior, we're not present to it, right? It's a habit. In other words, we've checked out somewhere and we're just operating on autopilot. Before we continue just with the word habit, I want to look at some of the derivations that are based in the same root. How about inhabit? Inhabit. So when we inhabit something, we live in it. Good afternoon, Pat. Welcome, welcome. So good to have you here with us. Oh my gosh, it is really good. This is celery juice. It's really, really good. So Rob says, hello again. I suffer with bad depression and anxiety, and I have unstable borderline personality disorder. Thank you for sharing your video. Rob, it's great to have you here with us. And I hear it sounds like you've had a rocky road of it with depression, anxiety, and unstable borderline personality disorder. Tough stuff. And so much of what we address here is finding ways to come back to presence. And one of the things about all these depression and anxiety is that one of the things that makes it worse, I think, is that we tend to try to get rid of it. We tend to want to make it go away, understandably. And as a result of that, we resist the feeling of it, like the experience of it in our bodies. And what I notice is through the work that I do with people is that when we are able to presence ourselves to the experience of it in our bodies, like to feel where it is in our body, this feeling, to imagine that it might have an appearance, to just sort of ride with it without interpretation, judgment, and resistance, that the feelings shift. So you might go from deep depression to sadness, or maybe anger, or, it's going to migrate around. And if you can presence yourself to the feelings as they move and allow the emotions to come up without acting them out, but allow them to move like energy moving, because that's really what they are. If you can allow for that, it can start to lift some of the oppression of those feelings. And so that might be worth trying. And also, Rob, I wonder if you're aware of something called tapping. So if you, I think if you look up the tapping summit or the tapping solution, you might find some resources there that are really powerful resources for self-care, where you can go through a process of tapping different meridians, and that can release a lot of that angst that you might be experiencing. So they have lots of different resources on their website, and tapping sessions that you can try, and it might support you in living with whatever's going on for you. Good morning, Elizabeth. It's wonderful to have you here with us. Welcome, welcome. And I love the green hearts. Beautiful. So Lisa says the new moon is a good time to get rid of that doesn't serve you. Bad habits are things that no longer serve us. For me, it's my eating habits that I haven't been able to rid myself of. So so again, even with the eating habits, I think with any habit, when we bring presence and consciousness to the experience, it shifts. So maybe instead of trying to get rid of the eating habit, maybe when you notice that you're engaged in it, if you can be in the experience of it. So one of the things that I've noticed, having had issues around eating for most of my life, um, one of the things that I've noticed is if you can bring yourself present, because a lot of eating habits are about checking out. If we're overeating, for instance, for sure, it's about checking out. If you can bring yourself present to not resist it, to taste the food, to feel it in your mouth, to chew it, what you're doing is you're bringing presence, and you can still allow yourself to be engaged. You're observing and you're being present. And I invite you to see if that makes a shift for you, Lisa. It may. Well, rather than trying, the parts of ourselves that are tough to live with, we tend to try and push away or compartmentalize. We tend to exile those parts of ourselves or fight with them, create resistance and conflict, like we're in opposition. And there's a possibility, I think, that might make a difference if you can recognize, accept, look for, we talked the other day about dialoguing with yourself, and asking, what's the positive intention here? What are you, my other than conscious being, trying to achieve in this behavior? Like what's the benefit that you're trying to bestow upon me? And that's another way that we can engage with these behaviors so that they can shift and morph into something that might be more life affirming, because we'll assume that originally they had a positive intention. And so it's a matter of getting realigned with the positive intention rather than in the habit of the behavior that no longer serves. So Rosalind says to shift a habit, so take the emotion or behavior and imagine, what would you prefer to see in your mind's eye? You can do that. I think that if we look at, well, what do we prefer to see? Where is our seeing come from? It's kind of coming from judgment, right? Rather than embracing the intention, the foundational intention of that behavior. So the dialoguing with the behavior, I think, might offer up suggestions that you wouldn't have otherwise anticipated if you're trying to think about what you'd rather have. And that can work. That absolutely can work. But again, we have these patterns of behavior. Depression, I had read years ago that depression was anger turned inward. So maybe there's anger underlying that depression, and it's not okay to be expressing that in the external environment, so it gets turned inward, and there's a whole dynamic around that. So Rosalind says, or what behavior would you like to see more or less of? For sure, we can look at the dynamics of what generates that behavior. Like if I'm stressed, maybe I'm a stress eater, for example. So I'm feeling stressed, and what am I doing by eating? I'm trying to calm the stress, most likely. Like that's the positive intention of the eating in that situation, perhaps. So then what is available to us? Well, maybe our other than conscious mind can allow us to take a deep breath. And maybe taking that deep breath starts to relax us. And maybe there's more available to us then to go even more deeply. It's like, oh, okay, that deep breath feels good. I'm noticing I don't feel as stressed. I'm noticing I don't need to put something in my mouth right now. That's interesting. You know, if we approach this stuff with curiosity rather than judgment, rather than trying to eliminate parts of ourselves, and rather to connect with them and learn from them, if then there's a greater ease in this whole transformation thing that presents it well, that presents it to ourselves. So, and Lisa says, I'll definitely try. That's an interesting way to work on it. Yeah, I think it is. And I think that, you know, we are so oriented to fixing things, right? Or judging things, like, and judging ourselves and judging others. Isabel, you're so sweet. Isabel says, wow, a great way to look at it, dear Mira. Thank you so much, Isabel. That's very sweet. And so, Rosalind says, so recognizing involves identifying triggers. I think it does. I think it does. I think even before we can identify the trigger, we get to the first step is recognizing, oh my gosh, I'm doing this. You know, I'm stress eating, or I'm doing whatever else it is. That's the first thing. And the thing and that's a challenge. It's a challenge because this is so much of an unconscious type response, right? It's happening and we're checked out. So the first step is to find a way to check back in, you know, to be able to recognize it. And then when you recognize it, then there's the ability to go deeper into an understanding of what the dynamic is that is underlying that pattern of behavior. So Elaine says, hand to mouth is survival, not feeling safe. I love that, because you talked about hand to mouth, and we talk about living from hand to mouth. And so here, that was beautiful, beautiful observation, Elaine. Hand to mouth is survival, not feeling safe. So Elaine continues, in the allowing of this coping skill, allow yourself to discover where you may not be feeling very safe, and create an experience of knowing you're safe in this moment by looking around and really experiencing that all is well, letting go of one coping skill and creating a new coping skill that may serve you in your life where you're at now. Excellent, excellent suggestion, Elaine. And so much of, well, stress is also a function of not feeling safe in a deep level, right? But as we look at our lives, when we create stress and anxiety for ourselves, and you might have a challenge with that phrasing, because we tend to think they're stressing me out, you know, but the truth is that we create our stress by the way that we interpret things, by the way we internalize things, by our expectations, by a whole dynamic. And so when we can take a step back, take a pause, and say, what's going on right now? Because oftentimes we create stress, worry, anxiety, fear by projecting into the future, right? Whereas right here, right now, pretty much anything that we're experiencing, we can get through in this moment. In this moment, I'm okay. Usually it's the projection to an unmanifested moment, you know, an imaginal moment in the future, or an imagined emotion in the future, projected into the future, that makes us respond, or that we respond to with stress, right? So when we get present in right here, right now, one foot in front of the other, one moment in front of the other, we can pretty much move through it. Good morning, Nicole. So good to have you here with us. Nicole says, Grand Rising, Mira, welcome. I love it. And Elaine says, truly showing up for yourself with compassion. Exactly, that's what we're talking about, because and actually this is microcosm, macrocosm kind of thing. In our culture, we have been so programmed to polarities, to good and bad, black and white, up and down, yes and no. And it's an opposition, me, us and them, me and the rest of the world kind of thing, where there's this foundational notion of competition and scarcity. And when we operate from a place of competition, we're creating otherness. Well, we do that same kind of thing with ourselves. We do that same kind of thing with ourselves when we say, this is a good behavior, this is a bad behavior. It's a vast oversimplification. And it's not recognizing the complexity of dynamics that are going on. If we say this is a bad behavior, it's very different from saying, what is the positive intention of this behavior that we're not really desiring so much, right? So Lisa says, replying to Elaine, I love this. I will utilize it in the near future. My mom wasn't ever present. So when we spoke, if I had a bad day, the answer was always, there's a check in the drawer, order a pizza. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Yeah, so eat food that's going to calm you, right? And so that's a big pattern. And so the maybe something that will serve is to look at, well, what other kinds of things could serve to relieve that stress. I mean, for some people, it's that I had a really stressful day, I'm going to go have a drink, or I'm going to get high, or whatever, right? And if that's a habit, that can be really, really challenging. Good morning, Jennifer. So good to have you here with us. So welcome. We're talking about habits. And Lisa says, hello, my name is Lisa and I'm a pizzaholic. That's so funny, Lisa. And I get it. It's like pizza is comfort food, right? And for you especially, because it's patterned with, okay, here's the challenge, here's the moment of pain, and we're going to solve that or resolve that with a moment of pleasure through pizza pleasure. So anyway, I think as we bring awareness is the very first step, and it's challenging, like to catch yourself in the process of ordering the pizza and say, okay, so what's going on with me? What happens if I take a deep breath? What happens if I presence myself? And you might presence yourself and still want pizza, at least for a little while. But the more you presence yourself, maybe the less the pizza solution will need to arise. Because the thing is, if you're a pizzaholic, the probability is that you're not even getting to really enjoy the pizza, which is a shame. I mean, if you're going to eat pizza, let's enjoy it, right? Like, I know that when I get into and have gotten into this compulsive eating pattern in the past, I'm not there. I'm not enjoying the food. I'm not even necessarily tasting it. And at some point, I just feel like, oh, why am I doing this? And I'm still doing it, And so we get to bring awareness. And sometimes there's just I don't want to bring awareness to this. And we get to notice that too, and then come back to it when we can bring ourselves forward. So Lisa says it's a long distance hug, right? So there's a whole bunch tied up with pizza. There's your relationship with your mom, there's the comfort, there's the money, there's all kinds of stuff tied up in that. So connect with your other than conscious mind, see what it might offer you in terms of other ways to interact with those experiences. Elaine says, we've been conditioned to believe that the solution is outside the self. It is not. Exactly. It is not outside of ourselves. Elaine continues, all habits or coping skills that no longer serve are a call to come back to you, to return to the heart as you are ready to move beyond the conditioned mind and free yourself. This takes practice and the willingness to truly wake up and be present for yourself. It does. It's a skill. It's absolutely 100% a skill to pause, to become present, to wake up and be present for yourself. So Rosalind says, could you do the Dickens process or the funeral exercise to trigger the emotion, helping to turn over stones to see what's hidden? I think that's a great idea. The Dickens exercise, that's a whole other conversation. I think there was a morning that I talked a lot about the Dickens exercise a while back, but we're pretty much done for this morning. So maybe we can discuss that further next time, Rosalind. And I'm presuming that the Dickens exercise is seeing the consequence of this continued behavior pressed forward into the future and coming back to the present and giving yourself an opportunity to make a different choice. And I'm presuming the funeral exercise that you're referring to is, you can, Lisa says, I haven't heard of it. You can look online, look up the Dickens process. It's super powerful. And it's super powerful for making dramatic change in all kinds of circumstances. And I'm presuming that what you mean by the funeral process is seeing yourself at your own funeral and hearing what people are saying about you, or it could be writing your own eulogy. And but anyway, Elaine says, we're all masters here in the process of mastery, and always for all, it's truly love. And on that note, I am going to call it a morning. So I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live each weekday morning on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page. And I encourage you all to, if you haven't already, join the other wonderful community opportunities with Enlightened World Network. So Enlightened World Network, Enlightened World Living, EWN, One with the Earth. And it's such a wonderful gift that you give me by participating in these conversations. I'm so grateful to you. And I hope you get even a fraction out of these conversations of what I get. So much love to you. Until next time, see you soon.